Hi everyone and welcome. I hope you're enjoying Google Cloud Next 21. I know this is another virtual year, but I'm hoping that today I get to bring some of my experiences to life for you. I'm going to be talking about what it was like to explore the 6 layers of Google Cloud data center security. Now you might be thinking of lasers, night vision cameras, and military-grade fences. You're not too far off because security is one of the most critical elements of our data center's DNA and Google Cloud workloads. With dozens of data centers globally, security operations means managing a massively complex network. I was one of the rare Googlers to visit one. So I'm going to take you on a journey to the core of a data center to show you the 6 layers of physical security designed to thwart unauthorized access. But first, I'll touch on Google Cloud's security philosophy before I take you on that journey to the core of a data center, and then we'll touch on how you can leverage that same philosophy on Google Cloud. And it's great to be here today. My name is Stephanie Wong. I'm a cloud developer advocate, and I've been creating developer-focused content for the last 4 years or so here. Of course, when I got the chance to visit a data center and make a film about it, I jumped at the opportunity. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So in terms of transparency, we're very clear about our commitments to customers about your data. Rule number 1, your data belongs to you, no one else. We do not sell customer data to third parties, nor do we use it for advertising. Your data is your data. Your data is also encrypted in transit and at rest all times, and you do not have to ask for that. And if you want, we can give you ways to add additional encryption on top of that. We also have explicit rules to guard against insider access. There is no backdoor to Google. There's no secret government access. We take pride in our international audits, and we deliver results on request. These are the most important rules in our mission of digital transformation. It's giving you the trust that you need to build great things. So how can Google Cloud help organizations with their security? Well, first, we provide protection from threats through a secure foundation, core infrastructure that is designed, built, and operated with security in mind. Second, we provide customers with a constantly expanding array of controls that they can use to help meet policy, regulatory, and business objectives. And third, we work to meet our compliance responsibilities and provide capabilities to make compliance easier for customers. But first, let's talk about the protection that you get from building on our infrastructure foundation. Our infrastructure doesn't rely on any single technology to make it secure. Rather, we build security through progressive layers that deliver true defense in depth. So our hardware is Google controlled, built, and hardened. Any application binary that runs on our infrastructure is deployed securely. We do not assume any trust between services, and we use multiple mechanisms to establish and maintain trust. Our infrastructure was designed to be multi-tenant from the start. All identities, users, and services are strongly authenticated. Data stored on our infrastructure is automatically encrypted at rest and distributed for availability and reliability. Any communications over the internet to our cloud services are also encrypted. And the scale of our infrastructure allows us to absorb many denial of service attacks. We have multiple layers of protection that further reduce the risk of any DDoS impact. And finally, our operations teams detect threats and respond to incidents 24/7, 365 days a year. We actually have a white paper written on our infrastructure design that goes into all of these areas in much more detail. Other cloud providers might describe a similar stack of capabilities, but the way that Google Cloud approaches many of these, in my opinion, is very unique. So I had the chance to visit a data center in 2019, and I made a video about my experience that you should all check out. I'll be sure to share the link, but you can find it at bit.ly/6layersdeep. This was a huge project, and it wasn't easy to get approvals or even step foot inside the premises. But in my job at Google, I spend my days working with developers. Our data centers are crucial to the work that they do, but most never actually set foot inside a data center. So as you can see here, there is a huge amount of space that our data centers span, 352,000 square feet or 33,000 square meters. And all in all, less than 1% of Googlers ever get to set foot inside. So I was determined to make a video because for close to 2 decades, Google has designed data centers from the ground up. Security has surfaced as one of the most critical elements of our DNA, and it's part of our commitment to keep our customers' data safe. And not to mention, Google Cloud now meets more than 45 regulatory requirements and growing. Our products regularly undergo independent verification of their security, privacy, and compliance controls, achieving certifications, attestations of compliance, or audit reports against these global standards. This means that an independent auditor has examined the controls present in our data centers, infrastructure, and operations. These certifications include some of the most widely recognized, internationally accepted independent security standards, including ISO IEC 27001 for security controls, ISO IEC 27017 for cloud security, and ISO IEC 27018 for cloud privacy, as well as AICP SOC 1, 2, and 3. These certifications are helping us meet the demands of the industry standards like CSA STAR and PCI DSS, as well as many other regional standards as well. We continue to expand our list of compliance offerings globally to assist our customers with their compliance obligations. So while auditors can sometimes enter our data centers to perform these audits, most people, including Googlers, cannot. Under special authorization, I found out that our physical data center security is built using that defense in-depth foundation. It's made up of 6 layers from the exterior all the way to the center, each increasing in controls as you get to layer 6. So I'm going to walk through each layer and some of the most notable features and experiences that I went through. So let's start with layer 1. This is the secure perimeter. Basically, it means the property boundaries, and that includes all the signage and fencing around the property. These are the furthest, most exterior edges of the property. So as you drive into the property, you'll see signs that might have a Google logo or a signage, but otherwise, you really can't tell immediately that it's a data center. It's more or less looks like an industrial area or a business park. But things really start to get interesting when it comes to layer 2, also known as the secure perimeter, and that includes the main entrance gate. So I started my journey by driving up to this gate, at which point I needed my credentials and my identity checked. Even before stepping foot into the property boundaries, I was already on an access approval list. The least privilege protocol is the idea that someone should have only the bare minimum privileges necessary to perform their job. So if your least privilege is to enter layer 2, then you're not going to have luck moving to layer 3. Each person's access and permissions are checked at badge readers starting with layer 1 and progresses more stringently at layer 6. These exist at every access point in the data center facility, and authorization measures happen everywhere using this protocol. This is something that we don't just employ in a data center, but it's also a best practice we always recommend for how you set up your organization, resources, and data on Google Cloud. So as you know, applying least privilege to IAM roles on Google Cloud is recommended, so any user has the bare minimum roles and their permissions to perform their functions. So layer 2 has a lot of security features ranging from smart fencing to overlapping cameras to 24/7 guard patrols and more. And there's actually a lot more technology and operations going on behind the scenes than meets the eye. So from the time that you're on site, they already know that you're there. But what I found also interesting is that they're able to do correlation analysis of where you've been on site through cameras, badge access tracking, etc. And there are also guards in vehicles and some guards on foot. As you can see here, there's also the vehicle crash barrier. This is designed to stop a fully loaded truck from crashing through the front entrance. This particular black fence also that you see here is an anti-climb fence. So there are spikes pointed outward. It'd be pretty hard to get over that in one piece. It's also equipped with fiber. The technology tells data center security operations if someone's near the fence or touches the fence. They also use thermal cameras and standard cameras so that they're able to see video footage at night just as clearly as they can during the day. Each camera overlaps the area that it can cover, so there's no blind spots anywhere around the data center. Now, you might be wondering, well, what if somebody skydives into the property or digs under the ground? Trust me, they have enough coverage of the area that they will detect something coming into the property or more motion that's occurring near the fence. These are not only physical safeguards, but act as a big deterrent to anyone even thinking about trying to forcibly come inside. And more obstacles await them inside. And we have additional operational monitoring happening in any case that will alert more guards to take action if they detect something. Layer 3 is building access. In this case, I was able to enter the lobby. But just so you know, this is still nowhere near the data center floor because that's still a few more layers deep. So let's say that you've gotten through the gate, you've come inside, you've come into the secure lobby, and you have your card or a form of identification, which is checked by a receptionist to make sure that you're on the access control list. But what happens if you lose your card? Then what? For that reason, biometric scanning is also employed. So yes, I did have to get my irises scanned. Similar to concepts in software development, biometric scanning is for authentication of identity. Meanwhile, my badge allowing access to a certain area is authorization. Yes, this also felt like I was on some sort of secret top mission, maybe Mission Impossible, or maybe Ocean's 11, or more recently, I've been hearing it's been compared to Professor from Money Heist. But once that was taken care of, another rule exists at the data center that prevents a vehicle or individual closely following another to gain entry into a restricted area without a badge swipe. So if the system detects a door open for too long, it immediately alerts security personnel. Any gate or door must close before the next vehicle or the person can badge in and then gain access. You've probably seen dual authentication when you try to sign into an account and you get a one-time password sent to your phone. We take a similar approach at the data centers to verify a person's identity and access. At some layers in the data center, you're required to swipe your badge and then enter a circle lock or tubular doorway. You walk into this special half portal that checks your badge and scans your eyes to gain access to the next layer of the data center. It prevents anyone from closely following you through because only one person is allowed into the circle lock at a time. So you can see here that I have to first badge, then step inside, get my irises scanned, and then it verifies my identity and the door on the other side unlocks. And something not shown in the video that I made is the facility loading docks, which are a special section of Layer 3. They're used to receive and send shipments of materials like new hardware. Truck deliveries from vendors must be approved for access to Layer 3 to enter the dock. And for security, the loading dock room is physically isolated from the rest of the data center, and a guard presence is required when a shipment is received or sent. I actually got super lucky when I was there and got to witness shipments being made of new servers being delivered. And in order for them to even get to Layer 3, they had to have been on the allowed access list through Layers 1 and 2 before arriving at Layer 3. Guards checked their identification and the access list before letting them into Layer 2 and subsequently opening the garage door to let them back up into the loading dock room. Then out came fresh new server racks one by one, and once unloading was complete, the vendor left and the hardware operations team began to move the racks into Layer 4 by badging themselves in one at a time with the actual hardware going into the data center. Badge checks occur at every entry point throughout the facility to ensure least privilege is adhered to. Even timed authorizations happen so you can do your job for only an allotted amount of time. So this could apply to loading docks or even performing hardware maintenance on the data center floor. You're probably thinking of your favorite movie, wondering, what if supply chain gets intercepted? Well, additional checks happen for this potential risk, and we have tested for many potential risk scenarios, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Layer 4 is once you've actually entered the data center itself. And this includes an extremely important part of data center security, the Security Operations Center, or SOC, a hive of activity that's monitoring the data center 24/7, 365 days a year. The doors, the cameras, the badge readers, the iris scan, everything is monitored from here. Anyone on site at the facility will have their movement patterns tracked throughout the property via their badge and biometric scans at entry points and doors. If a door is kept open for too long or correlation analysis finds that their presence is in an unauthorized location, alerts will be sent to the SOC instantly. This is like the brains of the security system. So if there's anything out of the ordinary happening, they have to be able to pick that up. The SOCs of all Google data centers are also designed to roll up to a regional SOC for multi-regional high availability purposes. If an on-site SOC were to be disrupted due to an event such as a natural disaster or emergency building evacuation, monitoring instantly rolls over to the regional SOC for continuous, uninterrupted monitoring. SOCs act as a center for emergency and safety response in addition to security responsibilities. These SOCs monitor and respond to alarms at all of our facilities and are constantly tracking local and global events that could impact operations at our data centers. Think of this like high availability for physical security, and really, that also means it's high availability for logical security and data protection as well. Layer 5 is the data center floor. Servers and network equipment that power Google live here. Security in this layer is one of the most highly restrictive, as it's where the data resides. And this meant I needed to enter a circle lock, get my irises scanned, and badge checked. And then once in there, I was accompanied by our guards in every space, and the VP of Global Data Centers, Joe Cava, took me around. So only hardware operations personnel, security professionals, and key people granted access on an as-needed basis can enter. Access is limited to the time required to complete the necessary job function. So this is truly an as-needed only access area, meaning that only the technicians and engineers that have to be there to maintain, upgrade, or repair the equipment are ever allowed there. This layer is protected by a circle lock, as I mentioned, security staff, and badge-protected doors. And the data center floor features laser beam intrusion detection. Additional cameras are also placed throughout the area, while security staff monitor the data center floor at all times. And the technicians who have access to the devices are there, but the data at rest is encrypted, and you can also issue and keep your own encryption keys. And if you're wondering, Googlers do not have access to the data unless you've authorized it for a technical issue, and this is called access transparency, which is a technical control. It produces immutable logs anytime a Google administrator needs to enter a customer's tenant to perform something, whether it's a support request or maintenance, and you control what types of access that you want to permit. For example, maintenance is okay, support's not, or it's okay for a given set of your environment. So layer 6 is disk destroyal, or as I like to call it, hard drive graveyard. So Google employs a strict equipment chain of custody monitoring, meaning that we meticulously track the location and the status of all equipment within our data center. This means that we track the location and status of every hard drive, from acquisition to destruction, using barcodes and asset tags. These asset tags are scanned throughout a hard drive's lifecycle in a data center from the time that it's installed to the time that it's removed from circulation. And tracking these hard drives closely ensures that they don't go missing or end up in the wrong hands. We also make sure hard drives are properly functioning by doing frequent performance tests. If a component fails to pass a performance test, then it's deemed no longer usable. So to prevent any sensitive information from living on that disk, then we remove it from inventory to be erased and destroyed in layer 6, disk erase. Disks enter layer 6 through a secure two-way locker system, allowing only authorized personnel to retrieve it in layer 6, which you're seeing here. When a hard drive is erased and retired, the disk erase formatter uses a zero filling method that wipes the disk data and replaces each bit of data with zeros. And we try to recycle drives and their components, but if a drive can't be erased, then it's stored securely until it can be physically destroyed, as you can see here. And it'd be pretty impossible to recover any data from these drives. And even if anyone tried to take anything out of the data center floor with them, we also have metal detectors and video surveillance to ensure all personnel exiting the data center halls are properly checked to prevent unauthorized equipment from leaving the floor. If you're wondering what happens to this waste, we actually have researchers in Google's Oklahoma facility who are looking into methods of collecting and recycling rare earth metals in hard drives. Data centers are the largest consumer of hard drives that contain elements like neodymium and dysprosium. These are the same elements that have a role in the components of electric cars, and there's a great article to check out if you want to learn more. Leaving layers 5 and 6 is arguably more difficult than entering, as each person must exit through full metal detection and detailed examination. And fun fact, Google Cloud also employs a security testing program where undercover actors are in our employ attempting to bring hardware out of the data center. This helps us constantly test and improve our physical data center security techniques. We actually run dozens of these drills a year, paying unannounced skilled adversaries to try to get past controls by any means necessary, except for violence. And this includes fake badges, social engineering, fake UPS trucks, ladder trucks to get over the fence, people hidden in trucks, attempts in thick fog, everything. And we usually win. After every attempt, we actually run a blameless post-mortem to improve and make the next attempt even harder. And we ensure the strength of our security controls and iterate controls as needed. This is all about building a culture of security. All right, so these layers don't stop at the physical layer. They extend into our technology stack that supports Google Cloud products too. So at Google Cloud, we provide capabilities and assistance across Google Cloud, Workspace, and connected devices that cover the whole scope of responsibility. We have a number of native security features that help protect you from vulnerabilities, like encryption in transit and at rest, and our hardware infrastructure is custom designed. Our servers don't include any unnecessary components like video cards or peripheral interconnects that can introduce any vulnerabilities. And the same goes for software, including low-level software and our OS, which is a stripped-down, hardened version of Linux. Further, we also design and include hardware specifically for security, like Titan, our custom security chip that we use to establish a hardware root of trust in our servers and peripherals. We build our network hardware and software to improve performance as well as security. So on Google Cloud, what's the best way to approach security? Well, cloud security is a shared responsibility. Depending on what cloud service you're using, Google Cloud will manage various parts of security above what we ensure through our secure infrastructure. So customers are responsible for securing their own workloads to meet their requirements and compliance. When it comes to cloud security best practices, there are two sides to it: preventative and architectural controls, which are implemented through architecture and policy decisions. And first, we're going to cover architectural controls, which include the communication between services, how you structure your resources on Google Cloud, and permissions. And then I'll quickly cover detective controls, which use monitoring capabilities to look for drift, anomalous, or malicious behavior as it happens. Let's talk about our approach to security tooling on Google Cloud. We have layers of security products and blueprints for you to quickly get started here. So from the bottom up, we have a global scale technical infrastructure that's designed to provide security throughout the entire information processing lifecycle at Google. And this infrastructure provides secure deployment of services, secure storage of data, secure storage with end-user privacy safeguards, secure communications between services, and also secure private communications with customers over the internet, as well as safe operation by administrators. Building on top of the secured core infrastructure, the next layer is the security products like Security Command Center Premium, which is our security and risk management platform, and Assured Workloads for securing your government workloads, which enable you to secure your deployments. These form the lowest levels of the security stack, and then on top of this baseline are security foundations blueprints. These are security blueprints which include Google Cloud security best practices that are embedded within them. So our goal here is to make it much easier for you to start and operate securely on Google Cloud. They actually enable you to jumpstart your deployments by handling some of your key advanced needs without your teams first needing to take time out and learn all of the advanced skills. They help you set up org policies as a resource hierarchy, networking, access, logging, detective controls, and then posture blueprints, which cover specific sets of services and workloads. Blueprints also come in 3 tiers, which differ in their level of native support and lifecycle management. Supported blueprints are created by the Google security teams and managed as products, which are regular refreshes and attestation and testing of the functionality and resilience. They're all verified. So blueprints can be created by Google teams or partner teams or even customer teams. And the key is that the lifecycle management and attestation of fit for purpose is the responsibility of the creating team. And today, they're offered via Terraform. So compatible blueprints can be created by anyone. The requirement is just that they need to be correctly formatted to operate through the blueprint toolchains. And then we also have blueprints that address specific use cases like protecting storage buckets or doing, protecting BigQuery users, AI notebooks, or Anthos even. So the topmost layer here is comprised also of your own web app and API protection services, analytics, or even high-performance computing environments. So the Security Foundations blueprints provides a strong starting point for customers to build and deploy their organization. So customers have access to the opinionated guide of the full Terraform repo of automation scripts to deploy the foundational landing zone. And it can be deployed either at the full org level or at the folder level in the hierarchy. These blueprints provide an opinionated vetting pattern for resource hierarchy, org policies, IAM, separation of duties, network architecture, data access segmentation, logging, and detective controls across projects and accounts. So that way you can meet your security and compliance and have a starting point, and then you can also start to build your own workloads and projects on top. It provides the foundation upon which you can further deploy an increasing number of opinionated Google-created security posture blueprints for specific products, sets of services, and workloads, and we update these blueprints on a 6-month cycle. We also provide a Project Factory Terraform module that enables you to set the parameters and constraints for projects when they are created. You can access the latest reference guide, PDF, and the Terraform scripts repo from the Google Cloud Security Best Practices Resource Center. And here, in addition to the curated set of Google Cloud Security Blueprints, you can also access both the Google Beyond Prod paper, which lays out the principles and practices of Google's approach for cloud-native security and how we think about and how we operate cloud-native. For customers who want to dive deeper into the knowledge and experience that Google has, then the Resource Center also includes a link to our Building Security and Reliable Systems reference book. Additionally, a range of detailed background white papers around our reference materials is available to customers from that Resource Center, and it covers topics like infrastructure design and how encryption at rest and in transit are handled on Google Cloud. On the preventative side, we also launched Security Command Center. This is the canonical security and risk database for Google Cloud. So it includes a risk dashboard, and analytics system for surfacing, understanding, and remediating Google Cloud security and data risk across your organization. So this means from one dashboard, you can uncover common web application and vulnerabilities like cross-site scripting or outdated libraries in your web applications running on App Engine, GKE, and Compute Engine. And you can also detect threats using logs running in Google Cloud or common container attacks, including suspicious binary or suspicious library, and reverse shell. Security Health Analytics is a vulnerabilities dashboard here, and it helps you view security misconfigurations by severity, compliance standards, or project end. You can take action from there. So with this, you can take inventory of your Google Cloud assets and partner solutions. You can also understand exactly what changed in your asset history in near real time and respond to the most pressing issues first. You can also receive notifications about new findings or updates to findings within minutes and be able to take action. And also, you can identify security misconfigurations in your Google Cloud assets and resolve them by following actionable recommendations that they actually have there. Lastly, you can catch web vulnerabilities before they hit production and reduce your exposure to risks and identify compliance. So see violations in your Google Cloud assets and resolve them with these recommendations. And of course, you want to be able to export them, so you can export compliance reports to ensure all your resources are meeting your compliance requirements. We have support for compliance standards like Payment Card Industry, which is PCI, the International Organization for Standardization, ISO. There's National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, and the Center for Internet Security, CIS 1 and 1.1, and benchmarks. This industry-leading threat intelligence detects threats using logs running in Google Cloud at scale, and it also uses kernel-level instrumentation to identify potential compromises of containers, and lastly combines threat intelligence from first and third-party providers to better protect your enterprise from costly and high-risk threats. Thank you so much for joining this session. I know there's a lot packed in there, so I hope you found it as much of an adventure as it felt like to go through it. If you do want to learn more, check out the resources that we'll include for this session, and always feel free to reach out to me on social, like on Twitter, at @StephR_Wong. Thanks again.